there is, we talk about this all the time, but there's a lot of press attention that will be paid to this personnel shift. And I think the conclusion of this whole thing is the much bigger story here is that Donald Trump will never change.
Yeah,
it's been 6 months.
And I think he was like, okay, you're going to stick Reince in my West Wing? Fine. I want to try Washington on for size. And he gave it 6 months, and he just tossed it out. And now he's going back to like his New York, sort of goon friends to run things, and they care even less about norms and conventions and traditions than the other guys. And that does genuinely worry me.
And Lovett, you made this point last night, but it is completely insane that the staffer who did not get fired this week was the one who threatened to kill people, accused the chief of staff of a felony, and accused the chief strategist of sucking his own cock. That person.
That's the keeper.
He's the keeper. And we don't know, and so far the mooch still reports directly to Donald Trump and not necessarily Kelly. So that's good. And Kelly thinks he's going to try to get him to report to him, so that's going to be a thing.
And you mentioned this last night, the Democrats at a time when we didn't have a lot going for us, blocked Social Security reform under the Bush administration. So it's just a reminder that yes, we don't have the White House, the House, or the Senate, but that's not a reason not to fight every single fight, because you're going to win some.
I think the lesson for me is we have to win back Congress in 2018. We have to, because, John McCain doesn't do the right thing, Lisa Murkowski doesn't, Susan Collins doesn't. That's the end of Obamacare, right? We would have lost it. If there was, in 2016, if 1,000 votes went the other way in New Hampshire, Maggie Hassan isn't senator and Kelly Ayotte is, and this bill passes.
Yeah,
right? 1,000 votes in New Hampshire.
Winning the Senate is really, really difficult. The deck is stacked against us. Still worth trying. We can still pick up seats. We can win the House. And if we win the House, we have shut down this kind of ridiculous process. We have taken the gavel from Paul Ryan, who has abdicated his responsibility, who has just sold out his country in the way he refuses to criticize Donald Trump and refuses to take a stand. And we can make sure that this kind of a crazy repeal just will not happen. Just won't happen. We have to win the House.
And it's not just the House, it's not just Congress, it's state level elections and local elections. Someone was making the point that we shouldn't just be on defensive now and trying to save Obamacare, we should go on offense. And that means there are a lot of states out there with Republican governors and Republican legislatures who have not approved the Medicaid expansion yet. And in 2018, if we flip legislatures and we flip governorships, Democratic in states that didn't expand Medicaid yet, they will expand Medicaid and more people will have health care. All right, let's talk about that. Trump care is dead. Obamacare is alive. It's good news. For now. It'll never be completely safe until Democrats control the Congress and the White House. So let's talk about why the bill finally died, and who do we credit it to, and what do we credit it to. I want to start with the policy and the politics, right? The Republican healthcare plan raised premiums, raised deductibles, raised the uninsured rate in America, the number of uninsured Americans by tens of millions, and never polled above 15%. So one thing we should talk about is it's pretty amazing that it almost passed, and really pretty scary that it almost passed. A bill that's that bad both in policy and in politics.
Yeah, Jason Kander made this point in the aftermath of the bill, friend of the pod, after the bill failed, and it's, put all the process aside, and the process is obviously important, but ultimately they just didn't have a better idea. Right. And that this terrible policy was central to why they couldn't get it through.
Yeah. And I also think the resistance plays a huge role in this. Activism played a huge role, and we never want to forget that. There's obviously been a lot of focus on John McCain and Susan Collins and Lisa Murkowski and even all the, yes. And we'll talk about them and also all the Senate Democrats who stood united under Schumer's leadership. You have everyone from Joe Manchin to Bernie Sanders stood together on this.
Total unity. Democratic senators from deep red Trump states, they never wavered, and that's a testament to them. That's a testament to Schumer. Who was and a testament to all the activists who kept the pressure on.
Yeah, look, I mean, it is a very cool and cynical thing to say on Twitter and social media and elsewhere that, LOL, nothing matters, right? Well, Susan Collins was at first, mild in her opposition to this bill. She goes home to Maine. She's greeted by crowds everywhere she goes cheering her on, and then she became one of the most vocal opponents of this bill, right? Lisa Murkowski was telling stories about cancer patients who were coming up to her and saying, please don't do anything to disrupt my treatment, and now she's opposed to the bill, right? Like, Jerry Moran from Kansas, real conservative, goes home, town hall in Kansas, people protesting outside. He at one point tries to kill the bill. People that you would never expect, right? So this is it was big.
And the pressure also just slowly but surely had to lower sort of lower their ambitions, right? Things have to keep coming out, right? The Medicaid cuts have to start coming out until all they're left with is like a tiny, strange, skinny repeal that even they didn't believe should become law, right? And so even that was a result of the pressure, because just to get the yeses they got, they had to reduce the bill to basically nothing.
Right.